Welcome to COMP313. So this is the first lecture that I'm giving as an actual lecture. It's the Wednesday of the first week. So I'm going to be lecturing the game development course, and I've got three chat environments running here. So I've got my chat in Discord, which hopefully I can keep my eyes down here for the chat in Discord. I had the chat in Twitch over there, and I have Zoom and Zoom chat. So you should be able to reach me in one of those chat formats if you have any questions. So what I thought I'd do today is, first of all, I'd introduce myself. So I'm a New Zealander. I studied down at Otago. I got my undergraduate degree in computer science. I then went on and did a PhD on the functional purpose of REM sleep. So a kind of neuroscience, but it was mostly computer science, modeling neural networks. So I have an AI background. As a university student, I did, a bunch of crazy things, as you do when you come to university. And so I joined the reenactment group and ultimate frisbee group and small rifle shooting group. I joined a whole bunch of these social clubs. And as part of the reenactment group, ended up over the far side there being an extra in Lord of the Rings. So if you see in the second movie where they put like two kids on a horse and the horse rides away from a burning village, I'm one of the wild men burning down that village, right? And in fact, that image is of me. It was a photograph of me during the filming, which ended up in the collectible card game. So you can also buy a card game version of me. I'm really cheap because I'm not a very useful card. But, so I did that as a piece of fun while at uni. I then went on to build trebuchets in Europe, which was when I went to Norway. And that, again, was a medieval reenactment thing that I did. And if you're interested in medieval siege weaponry, I have publications and an expertise in 9th and 10th century siege weapons. So we can always have those conversations. This is me actually being in Unreal Engine in my VR headset, where one of the things we'll do during this trimester is I will try this with some of you who are interested, where I put on my VR headset and we do multi-user editing and I become a character in the editor. So that's what you see me, with my name Simon, in your editor, and I am in your game world. Right, so you create the game world, you put me in, and I'm in it, and you can add new objects to it, and I can talk to you about it, and I can move things around. It's part of Unreal's virtual production environment, but you can actually use it for the lecturer kind of helping out by being in game, which is kind of an interesting way of interaction. So we're gonna try new and interesting things like that. And some of the stuff I do is related to role playing, because I started role playing about 35 years ago. Actually, no, 38 years ago. And so some of my gaming experience also is that role-playing and DMing and understanding roles that we take. And that actually informs quite a bit of my understanding of group activity and how we manage groups, is actually using a D&D framing around the roles that your character is playing in that group. And so that's how I will be looking at group work. Has anyone told me I look a wee bit like Billy Connolly? Maybe I do. As I get older, maybe I look more and more like him. Okay, so the course intent. What are we actually intending to do? I want you to learn. You will learn to learn about making games. So what I mean by, rather than learn to make games, I mean to learn to learn. The reason I say learn to learn is that you won't stop learning to make games, right? Games are not something you know how to do and you stop learning. All the time you'll be learning if you're going to make games for the rest of your life, you'll be learning new things, because new engines come out, new possibilities come out, new situations arise. You have to do research on, 13th century Japanese culture for a game, or what are the physics performances of a shuttle because you're doing a space game. Learning is something you will always do as a game developer, And so course is not just the once I've taught you, you know how to do it. It's hey, these are some of the processes we use to learn how to make games rather than to make games. And that's why games are considered research and development, right? So they're actually an R&D industry. They're not a production industry. Also, we've got new things this year. So Unreal 5 is new this year, as in it's only just been released and we've only just updated the lab to it. And so Unreal 5 is new to a lot of us and we're still learning how to use it. And I'll also be using Github Copilot as part of my teaching. That again was released about a month ago, so all of you can have access to it. And for the C++ programming in Unreal, I've played a wee bit with it. It actually does an interesting job of being a tool to help people who know one programming language, like Java, move into a different programming language like C++. So the course structure. So we have some things set in stone because I had to set them in stone. So we have a 30% small project, which is designed around the way that industry people learn a new tool. So when you're given a new game engine, right, one of the things that you do in industry is either you pick a small game project and you try and make a game in that new engine or in that with that new tool. And this is a small project that you learn some of the bits of the game. Right? So that assignment has been released. It's up on the wiki page, COMP313. So you can go and have a look at that. It gives you a list of categories of things you need to have covered off so you can show that you've investigated using the engine to do a bunch of standard things which then hopefully will help you when you go into actually programming the game in the second half, in the larger part. Now, the second part, that 40%, that larger project, is to work in a team. So there are 6 of you working together to make a game. It's worth 40%. However, you will also be graded on your individual contribution to that team. So you won't get one grade that goes across everybody in the team. You will actually be graded on your contributions and the kinds of work that you have done, which means if you just kind of coast and do nothing, then I will fail you, even if the rest of the group passes the course. And the last section is actually a reflection on the work that you've done and what you learned from it and how it ties into games that you've played and the content of the lectures and things you found online. And so reflecting on what you've learned and the process by which you went through developing the game, right, and developing the code. So this is I'm sorry if people are losing audio. Hopefully that's only a short-term thing. I am recording, so hopefully that will come out in the wash. So my lectures here are to help inspire and to understand things. My goal is not to try and dump a huge amount of knowledge out of my head into your head during the lecture time, right? This isn't going to work. Labs are to offer synchronous help, and Discord for that asynchronous and an offline help. We will potentially also run some of the labs in Discord and on Zoom if we're trying to talk to everybody, so that we can have enough kind of coverage to get everybody involved. So, course people, I'm Simon McCallum. We've got Gavin Tasker, who is a tutor. Michael Blaney is also a tutor, but we're just trying to sort out his contract and details. Tui, or Tuakana, is down in design, and Billy, and I've forgotten Billy's last name, is also a design tutor. Now, there are a lot more of you in CompSci than there are in design. Design is quite a small class this year, and CompSci is very large. So we've got a bit more resource. I also have Kun Huang, who is going to be doing the marking. But you will tend not to interact with Kun terribly much because he will be helping me mark your assignments and give you feedback on the work you've produced. This means Michael's and Gavin's job is to help you produce the best that you can, they won't be the ones actually marking. So there's going to be some work between Gavin, Michael, Kuhn and myself to make sure that the marking is accurate, and that the advice that Gavin and Michael give you and that I give you during the trimester is correctly applied during the assessment process. So course times, we have this lecture, yay, where we're at. We also have Monday at 11 till 1, which is entirely online, and that's hopefully going to be Mike. We'll confirm that hopefully by the end of the day. And Wednesday, we were looking at having Gavin come in and do Wednesday. However, he lives out in Paraparaumu, so if we need to be in person, then we'll look at Gavin having to come in just for that one thing that day. Because if you need someone in person, then you need someone in person. I will be in person not next week, but the week after. So in 2 weeks' time, I will be in person in Te Aro to meet people and help them out. And I'll be there for both week 3 and week 4. Which will hopefully help you with the projects as you're trying to get your individual projects done. We will have class help desks. I want your input as to when they would be. So we're going to do a poll, find out when you want the help desks, and move times to suit you. This could include being in the evenings, and also whether you want those help desks to be in person or whether online help desks make it easier. Yes, there is a potential for the Wednesday one to move, particularly if it's just online, because we could move that to Thursday and have that as a Thursday online session rather than in-person session. The in-person in Wigan 401, the Monday and Wednesday are when you will be your allocated time to use the machines that have Unreal 5 on them. If you do not have Unreal 5 on a machine that you can use, then Wigan 401 is your opportunity to go in and use those machines. You have access, that lab is there for you to be able to use a machine that runs Unreal 5. There is reasonable amount of space, particularly at the moment with people trying to work from home, so that should be fine. Yeah, so we're only going to be using Unreal 5. So there's a question there in Twitch. Are we only going to be using Unreal 5? The lab was updated to Unreal 5, so I'm updating my material. Up until the beginning of this week, I thought we were going to have both 4.2.7 and 5.0. We are now moving all to 5.0. And I noticed that you can only get 5.0.3, so it's only a minor update. Download 5.0.3, and we'll probably, I think it will be compatible for both, as it's just a hot fix on some security issues, I believe. So yeah, so it was up in the air. We're now entirely 5. VR headset seems like a worthwhile way to spend course-related costs. Well, you can. I mean, if you really want to do VR stuff, then yes, Unreal has got some good VR stuff. I have my VR kit here and also in my office in Wellington. So, if you want to do VR stuff, we have the capability of marking VR stuff. But, there's additional work in that, and you'd have to find a group that was keen. However, I do put, as part of assignment 1, you can do VR as a thing you want to explore, and do some interesting things in VR. So you can use this opportunity to do VR stuff for the first 4 weeks of the course. Finding a whole group that want to do VR stuff and having 6 members each with their own VR setup that's similar, that will be harder to find. So yeah, the Quest 2 is affordable. I've got access to Quests and things, so if you pick a VR set to use, I can probably find a way of playing it. We've got Quest 2s and we've got the Vive and we've got Vive Flows and we've got the Vive Pro and stuff. So we've got quite a few. Course pedagogy. Now this is going to be one of the interesting things that I'm doing in this course. We'll see how it works. Is Agile teaching. Now hopefully most of you, and given your 3rd year computer science students and software engineers, you've heard of Agile. Agile teaching methodology is where I put all the topics in the backlog and I have a GitLab repo for that, which is our LMS, so Learning Management System, COMP313 2022, where I will put the topics of the lectures into a backlog. And when we do our weekly retrospectives, you will be ranking the lecture topics, and the ones you rank highest will be the one that I will next teach. Well, mostly. There'll be some things I might not be able to do in a particular order that you want them, but I will try and align what I teach with what you rank as important topics. You can also insert new topics into the lecture topic stream, and if the rest of the course vote that to the top, then indeed I will teach you other topics that you've added to the course content. Now, there are some things we will have to cover, and so those will be more highly ranked in the requirements for the project, so we have to meet those. Imagine them like a login system. You have to have a login system, so we'll have to get that by the end. But other features you will be able to vote on, right? So this is what I call in Agile teaching, because there are still a group of features we have to have in, but the way in which you order them and when you add new topics is done on that weekly retrospective. If you want the full Agile version, it's also that the working minimal viable product is your knowledge, right? So at the end of each sprint, at the end of each time period, we're supposed to have an integrated body of knowledge. So I'm not doing late integration where I teach you a whole bunch of separate topics all the way along and then try and smash them together at the end of the course. I'm going to try and build it like we would an Agile system, where there is a minimal viable product, there is a running knowledge system that is expanding at the end of each week, and you can connect in that new stuff into what you've currently got working, right? So that's how I'm thinking about the lecture schedule. So that's going to be up to you, and so we'll be running those retrospectives. The next week's lecture, I'm going to be doing game architecture, which is an overview, but then we can start moving into changing around things. We also will have a game ethics lecture, because I always like to teach a game ethics lecture, but the rest we can move around and keep up to you. So, as I said, we will be using Unreal Engine 5.0.2, and I can't see any chats in this yet. I'm just checking so when I look down, I'm having to check all of my chats. So yeah, no, it looks like that people are filling. Yes, so good thing. Yes, I told Tui on Monday. Okay, so someone talks to. Right. So tools. We're using 5.0.2. So you need to download that. You can pick either the game development license or the professional license. Doesn't matter. I would care. Well, yeah, we're making games, so go with the game license. If you happen to make $1 million a year off the game you make in this course, well, fucking done. And then you'd have to start paying Unreal. But I don't think that's that. Well, there's never been a problem in the past. So we also be using Visual Studio. So I use Community 22, which works perfectly fine. We're also using Git and Git LFS. So I use Git for Windows. If you've got Git, if you've got a Git client on a Mac, that's fine. Use your Git client on your Mac and download your a long file system for it, because we'll be working through those. There are other tools. So Perforce, Plastic SVM have plugins into Unreal. Git and our Git lab install in ECS works perfectly well with Visual Studio as your development environment. So actually you tend to do your pushes and your commits and your clones and pulls and things in Visual Studio rather than in Unreal, because Unreal isn't quite as good at that, doesn't have as good a plugin as Visual Studio has. So you're kind of doing a balance between those, and Visual Studio can see the project and stuff. So you can use the directory. I will also do a bunch of command line and using source tree. So if you like visual editing, I use source tree. If you like command line editing, I can give you examples on how to do this stuff at command line. So we'll be using Git quite a bit. And the GitHub student. Actually, that shouldn't be Git student pack. That's the GitHub student pack with GitHub Copilot. Register for that if you are going to be using Visual Studio Community. Part of the reason why I want you to at least give this a go is that I'm interested to see what your thoughts on GitHub Copilot are, particularly with coding in C++ for Unreal Engine, because there are a bunch of settings and parameters that GitHub Copilot can help you with, because it has seen this kind of code before, knows the context, has seen the context, and so tends to get the some of the parameters correct and the parameter order correct, which is quite nice. And yes, I can see it was an update less than 24 hours, somewhere today to 5.0.3. So sorry I didn't update the slide until after that. Will we see a video of the setup of GitHub student, or kind of a figure it out yourself? So the GitHub student pack you can sign up for, and sign up for all of the things and get your student pack and get all the things. In terms of a full install, I did a speed run in COMP313 this year of all the tools, which took me 12 minutes, I think, to install everything on a completely blank system with nothing in it. Unreal and Visual Studio take quite a lot longer than that to download and install, and so that's something you tend to take a couple of hours to do. So yes, there will be quite a bit of time. However, and the GitHub student pack is fairly well documented, so I think you'll find that won't be too hard to do. And in fact, installing Unreal Engine and installing Visual Studio are both relatively well supported. So, and now I'm not suggesting that you install Unreal Engine from source and then compile it yourself to make your own compiled version of the editor. You can do this. You can actually get all the entire source code down for Unreal Engine. We are not intending to dig that far into the engine and build our own versions of the engine in this course. We are going to be using it. I will, however, and I do have a full source code version of Unreal, and so I can actually dig into the source code and show you some of the process that's happening underneath. If you ask me about the rendering pipeline or some of the function calls, we can dig all the way down into the full source and build it from scratch. So there are possibilities to do that. You just, most of the time, you don't need to edit the engine code itself and build your own new engine from it. But we can if we needed to. So GitHub Copilot is an AI peer programmer. Amazon, I think a month or two, maybe a bit longer ago, released Code Whisperer, which is Amazon's version of GitHub Copilot. So this is not like it's the only one. These are becoming more and more common. Learning to work with the AIs is going to be an important part of being a developer over the next 3 or 4 years. So I thought we might as well throw ourselves into it. Copilot's the one I've been using a bit. I used it over the summer, and I started using it in my development. So yeah, I think we'll go with that one. It works well with C++. It's been trained on all of GitHub, so it's pretty good at that. And the process is that you kind of write comments, it will give you suggested code. You can either accept that code and then change it slightly, or go and change, delete the suggestion or not accept the suggestion, go back, edit your comment code, and it will give you a new suggestion. So we'll have a lecture on GitHub Copilot and show you how that works. It's also important to understand the code that you are accepting, because if you just accept random code from the peer programmer, you might not understand it, right? And so when something breaks, you don't know where it broke or why it broke, and you can't fix it, right? So even though it does help you write things faster because it gives you the good suggestions, it becomes more like what I call a DJ job, where you're taking samples and merging them into a nice track rather than trying to create everything from scratch, right? So we're it's a bit of a different feel for development. Okay, we are going to make some big projects. Some of you have already been talking about 125 gig for Unreal 5. Yeah, no, I'm running on about, I've got about 100 gig in my 2 Unreals, because I'm also getting Android and iOS. You do not require the Android and the iOS build environments for Unreal. You don't have to have the mobile stuff. So you shouldn't necessarily choose that. Oh, and I'm sorry about the ads. I can't control that. I'm trying to turn off ads on Twitch, but I'm sorry that they exist. And yeah, you might have to get a 1 terabyte secondary drive potentially. I bought myself a 4 terabyte one so that I could store everything. So yes, they are. Unfortunately, it's one of these big project issues. Now, for large projects, we are going to try and keep our LFS system working so that we don't overload everything. We're also going to use gitignores, and we're going to use gitAttribute to try and manage our file sizes to keep things to a minimum. Now, that could be somewhat challenging. We will have to see how all of this goes, but yeah, there's going to be some management. We're going to have to learn to use Git well, and so that's going to have to be something we're going to work on. I've got some gitignores and some gitAttribute files and LFS, and our GitLab does support LFS. I will be releasing an assignment 1 template with those built into it so that you can have access to those and see them working and use them to set up the management of the content folder. We may have to point the LFS content to a separate server, but we'll work on that to try and make sure that as we move into the group projects and things become really, really big, that we're managing that file space. So for GitHub Copilot, would we need to block public code suggestions? No, it's entirely up to you. You can have any suggestions you like. I have no issues. That was added because people were concerned about the licensing issues around public code, because public code has often got will sometimes have MIT license or the GNU licenses, and some copylefts, and so we need to get Simon to partner on Twitch, guys. Yes, I'm an affiliate. I'm not a partner yet. But so we're going to have to try and work on getting the GitHub Copilot stuff working well. Understanding how neural networks work and how it has been trained, and the nature of GTP3, I feel that the licensing issues are an area for debate rather than clearly defined already, right? So you can leave on public code suggestions, because I feel that we're fine with that. Unreal 5. I'm learning Unreal 5. I will make mistakes. I will not know some stuff when I do my coding. And if any of you watched my coding from this morning when I was putting things together, I was fumbling around a little bit. All right, because I was fumbling around looking for exactly where things were. And I've got an idea of how I want to do something, but then actually making it work in the engine doesn't always come out the way you want it to. I'm not going to hide that from you, because we need to learn together. Oh, did something just crash? One of my things just crashed. Ooh, Twitch is fine, but I think Discord just crashed on me. Or it certainly just disappeared on me. So just a sec. Am I in there? Yes, I am. And I've got my video turn off camera. Yes, you can see me again. Okay, so sorry, it just disappeared on me and I didn't know where it went. Okay. So I won't hide the fact that I'm also learning. So we will work together to learn this stuff. And I'll do the best I can. And we'll try and keep up. I will use Discord to share experiences. We've just been approved as an academic partner for Unreal. And so we're going to have a whole bunch of new assets coming through. We've got a lot of free IP around asset libraries and things, which we'll have access to, which we can share with you. And so there's also a few other programs that you'll get access to. Art Studio and some other systems which will come online as we go through the trimester, and I get all of the Unreal partnership stuff done. So that should be good, and we should be able to have additional resources from Unreal and get Chris Murphy to give us some talks from the Unreal Evangelist over in Australia if you have any deeper Unreal questions. But helping each other and helping me and me helping you is what we need to do. I want you to treat blueprint programming in Unreal as actual programming. It is not just scripting. It is a full programming languages environment. So there are things that you learn when you are a good programmer, which you try and respect when you enter a new environment. So white space is important. In blueprints, layout is important. Magic numbers are bad. In blueprints, they're bad, so you promote magic numbers to variables. I will be showing you all of this when I go through Unreal. Comments. Use block comments. Actually structure your code in the way that you respect coding as a practice. And use functions, and in Unreal that means collapsing large diagrams. So instead of having this massive diagram spanning across the entire, multiple screens and being unable to follow things, collapse those into either graphs, function, or macros. We can explore those, but treat it like you are actually programming in an environment where other people need to read your code. I don't want you to create and literally almost spaghetti looking code, because you can have the wires running everywhere. You can make it terrible. We'll go over all of this stuff in videos, and that will be so that you can see what we're trying to achieve. So getting cracking is yes, and installing and implementing, starting to implement all this stuff. So student agency. I'm doing something along with the Agile performance, so the Agile lectures where you get to choose the topic order. We also do assessment by consent. We have to agree on how you will be assessed. So rather than me deciding all the categories and me deciding all the weightings and me deciding how you get assessed, we have to agree on that, right? So I have rubrics for assessment, which I'll put out. If there are things that are missing or things you would rather not be assessed on, then we can discuss that and remove some items. Also, each of the categories that you're assessed on, say the interaction in your game versus the character movement or the interface aspects or the gameplay, each of those you will have the ability to adjust the rating on those, and so how much each one of those is weighted to sum to your final grade. So your final grade is not just me deciding the percentages. Within the 30, the 40, and 30 are defined, but within those projects, how you're assessed on each category, that weighting is changed by you, and it's you as an individual. You will also pitch your projects. So you don't have to, because you're the programmers. All the designers have to pitch a game idea. The game programmers are allowed to pitch their game ideas, and from those game ideas, you will vote on which one you want to work on, and then we'll form groups around what you vote on. Okay, so the process is that if you want to pitch a game, you've got until the 3rd of August to come up with a 2-minute pitch for your game. and any other supporting ideas around that game. And this could be that you work for the next 3-4 weeks building a wee prototype game that you think, hey, actually, this is pretty cool. I want to continue working on this. You pitch that game, and then a team comes around and you take that game and build it to completion. Okay, so these are not games defined by us. These are games defined by you. Is there a template or guide for pitching? There are some guides for pitching, and Tui is managing that. So if you turn up to the design lab, he will also give you feedback. They can give you feedback on pitches, and we'll try and help you get those pitches over the line on the 3rd. If you can convince 4 or 5 other people that your game idea is good, then yes, you can have a team that works on that game for the rest of the trimester, and you submit that in the middle of October. So, right, now, we are 10 minutes from the end of my official time. I'm going to stop here before I get into what is a game, because I have a whole kind of I got a whole bunch of slides I want to talk about, which is kind of what is a game, but I've given myself time to move that into next week and also just record some of the stuff online. But do we have questions from this? So, how many designers are in a team? Okay, so in terms of the team makeup, we're going to have about somewhere between 18 and 20 teams in the course. We only have 19 designers. And so with 20 groups and 19 designers, we can't even have one designer per group. And also 1 designer and 5 programmers is fairly imbalanced because the designer doesn't have anyone else to bounce ideas off and to manage some of the design process with them. So what we're looking at doing is actually having 8 to 9 teams of only programmers and 8 to 9 teams of paired designers with groups of programmers. That will be determined by what kind of games people vote for and what requirements have. Now, I know that some of you are only here because you want to explicitly work with designers, so we'll have that discussion and try and ensure that you're in a team with designers. When you look at the games that are being pitched, if we don't have, out of the 80 of you, well, 78 of you, 8 programmers who come up with good ideas, then you'll end up making games that I enjoy, right? I've got 8 different game ideas that I can put out there and get you all to make. So, but I don't want to do that. I want you to come up with those game ideas, and I want you to think about those over the next few weeks. So we don't know the exact makeup of the teams yet because we'll make them depending on what people vote on. So it was 80 yet. I guess it would be unfair to have only 1 designer in 4 programs. Yeah, that's the problem. We're going to try and put the designers in pairs at least. So there'll be 10 groups with designers in them, maybe 9 groups with designers in them. But that again depends on what people vote on. Last year we had, I think, a group of 4 designers want to do a game, and not a single programmer wanted to work on that game at all. All right, the programmer went, no, I'm out. I'm not going to work on that at all. So, that becomes a challenge when nobody wants to work on a game, and yet there are a bunch of students who really, it's their first choice and they really, really want to work on that game. So there is a bit of moving things around that we do. Okay. Pandering to the judge. If there is purpose, may I ask what is the purpose of the intro video? So the intro video that you're making and putting in, but hopefully by the end of the week, and I forgot to mention it in the slides, I should have added that in. The intro video was so that I get to see you all. Now, I was also going to ask for permission to share those with other people if you were wanting to. We had a wee bit of a session on Monday in the Monday lab. I was asking people and we got to chatting about what they were doing and why they want to do it. And I think that was kind of interesting for other people to hear. But for some people, they don't want to share in a public space. But I would like to see your face and hear your voice and kind of get an idea of what you're interested in and what you're trying to do. So that's for me. So when I talk to you, I have an idea of who you are in my head, because I can't see you through this camera. So that's what that was for. I've got another question here. Why not have 8 clones of one game? You could have 8 clones of one game, but that's not that interesting, and it's more important that you learn than it is to do one thing. If we picture ourselves, though I have had 2 people do the same game, right? 2 groups, right? So 2 groups of 6 have worked on the same design idea. So it is possible to have two clone, or have a clone of a game idea, because someone thinks, hey, that's an amazing idea, and they actually grab the design and they both take that design off in their own direction. So we have had that happen. So if one game is amazingly popular and everybody wants to make that game, then we might work out how we can have 2 clones of the same game. Teach designers programming skills and convert them. Well, we've already got a lot of design. We've already got a lot of programmers. We don't need more programmers. We need more designers. But though interesting in industry, they're crying out for programmers. So you guys have all got potential jobs. Well, as programmers, which pay better than game programmers. But there is potential there. Can we get some? Yep. So if we don't have enough people, can we get some outside help? Yes. I've had people say, hey, I've got an artist friend who's doing a UB animation degree. Can I get them to do the art for my game? And the answer is absolutely you can. Right? But you need to tell us about it, right? So we know what the group's made of. And also so that when we analyse that's actually kind of taken into account the art was done by this person. And so, we'll still assess you on your contribution to the group work. But if you want to make that look cooler and you've got an art friend or a musician friend, then happy to have you work with them from outside. Got lost in the chat, sorry, but wanted to turn. Will there be an opportunity to dig into some of the graphics pipeline side of things? Doesn't seem to be digging into the engine side. So will there be an opportunity? If you guys vote and want to dig into the graphics pipeline, I have a graphics lecture. I can dig into the graphics pipeline. We can dig all the way down. We can do some work on shaders. I've taught at 3rd year. I taught a shader programming course. So we can dig into Vulkan and look into error functions and shaders and wavefronts in CUDA programming, and we can dig into the graphics pipeline in the engine if you're keen. But that would have. We'd have to make sure that's actually something a bunch of people want, or if there's a subgroup who are large enough who really want to kind of dig into that, then we can look at doing some extra work in that shader programming and digging into that graphics pipeline, and doing some weirder stuff in Unreal. Okay, so it's fine to bump the questions. Shaders would be awesome. See, because this has also got some Sigra people in here, doing some shaders, digging into those shaders, getting deep into the shader space is something I'm quite happy to do. So I did a whole bunch of CUDA programming. It was pretty intense. This course isn't a CUDA programming course, so I'm not going to dig too much deeper into that stuff. But if you're interested, I ran one of those courses, so we can sort of get some of that stuff out and start playing with some of the low level optimization stuff you can do when you're running across the 1,000 processes on your GPU card. So you want 313 part 2. There has been a discussion where so this is potentially the last year we run this course. We're actually making this course a 30-point course in the future. I'm teaching an Unreal programming course in 2nd year and T2 next year. We also have our Game Jam course starting up next year, which is a 15-point 2nd year course where you do 3 game jams in a 12-month period, which would generally include the global game jam. So if you want more game content, there are 2 new courses coming in the 2nd year next year, we can potentially wrap those and make them a 3rd year course. I don't know if we can wrap them and make them a 4th year course. That will be the tricky bit. Can I make this course just an entire degree, please? So I actually have an entire, I created an entire game programming degree when in Norway. So this has been me taking 3 years of programming content and trying to narrow it down to a 15-point course, which is why I've exploded out and we're now going to have 60 points worth of content going forward rather than just 15 that we've got here. I also created mobile programming, so I can teach. I've taught mobile programming, I've taught graphics programming, and I've taught, as I said, GPU coding and maths and AI. So we had a game AI courses. So yeah, I've had this as an entire degree, which is kind of interesting to do. Unfortunately, when I left, because there was no one else to keep driving the whole degree forward, it tended to wither a wee bit and become more of a normal computer science degree. But we'll see how much more I can add over time. I'm looking at getting into the AI eventually and creating a game AI course as we expand. And at honours year and fourth year, we're looking at a serious games course where we do games for education / games for health and some propaganda games. We're also looking at some of the shader stuff and potentially collaborating with Unity and that bought Weta Digital and seeing if there's some interesting stuff at fourth year that they might want to also host. So yeah, there are some options coming. Yeah, so fourth level, a CUDA and low level optimizations, it's a really fun area. Unfortunately, it's a bit like playing a game yourself, is because you've got a score, which is how optimal you made it. So I think that we've got through those questions. Yeah, so Unity bought Weta Digital, so they've got 250 developers. However, Unity's going through some financial trouble, so they laid off a whole bunch of engineers, so it's a wee bit up in the air at the moment. However, the part of the reason why we're still teaching Unreal rather than Unity is because we can dig in to the engine, and so next year I'll be teaching engine programming, and we'll dig into the engine and teach you about engine programming, because that's what the people out in Miramar are doing as Unity developers, is they're programming the engine, not just using the engine. And so to have a pipeline into that kind of job, you need to actually dig into the engine rather than just use it. So yeah, we're still looking at how that works and what that pipeline is. What trimester is is the engine programming running next year? It's going to be T2 next year, yeah, we'll discuss wrapping it. I'm going to be so it's going to be Unreal Engine 5. It will be a T2 second year course, and it will be new. I've never taught. I haven't taught that style of program before. So I've taught the graphic stuff, and I've taught AI, and I've taught all the other bits. So this will be the first time I'm teaching a full-on engine programming. We'll probably get A44 in to give us some insight from what they're doing commercially. We'll get Chris in from Australia, Chris Murphy, who's the Epic developer there. And that's why I've got the academic affiliation, so that I can bring in resources from the Unreal educators from around the world to make sure that we're doing best practice and getting everything right. So yeah, okay. Well, it's 5:02. People in the room, Zoom people in the room. Is there actually anybody in LBLT 118? Yeah. Okay. Hello, LBLT 118 people. Thank you for being in the room. And hopefully other people in the room. Did anybody connect me to the actual podium or not? Keeping the seats warm. That's lovely of you. Hopefully other people realised that it was online, but this was a space you could go and listen to the lectures. I can actually have that go up on the big screen. I actually prefer to not have it on the big screen. I actually have it like people having their laptops up in the room. But I again will be online next week, but the week after I will be in person, but still teaching to camera and using the side things. So with that, instead of me trying to blast through my description of what a game is, I thought I'd do that introduction. What I can do is I will record my lecture on, what is a game, and I can put that up on Panopto so you guys can start viewing that. What you need to now start doing is start installing stuff and getting down, looking at the assignment, start working on how you build a game. I will be releasing some emails with the examples of the assignment 1 folder in GitLab so that you can fork that into a repo area that we create for you, and then you can clone that onto your machine, and then you can put your Unreal project into that and upload it and start working on the assignment. You can, of course, start working on the project and start playing with Unreal by doing a sample top-down or a third-person or first-person 3D project, and start going through the C++ beginner's guide to Unreal. Okay. So I will also be Twitch streaming a bunch of my development process. So one of the things I thought I might do is Twitch stream my creation of videos. So I'll have more Twitch streams up of me doing things. Some of those might be in the evenings, some will be during the day. I will be in the Discord and in doing office hours in the Discord. If you see me in my office in Discord, then you can come and start chatting to me because I'm working on stuff, but I'm interruptible, right? If I'm not in my office, then you might have to wait to get my attention. One asked the best way of getting to me. I know I'm a bit slow on processing email at the moment, but Discord and email are probably the best ways to get in contact, and I'll try and keep up. Okay, so there's a question in the Discord lecture chat. So sorry. We'll be able to get these. Yes, so the lecture slides will be up. I'll put all of those up. I was trying to get them up before the lecture, but getting Zoom and everything working was fine. All of this will be available on the lecture schedule on the Git. Currently we are access denied. Really? So I will check, and I could have a bot that's connected to my Twitch that would announce my live Twitch streaming into Discord if you want me to attach a Discord bot, a Twitch bot to Discord. So no, all those slides aren't there yet, right? So I haven't, they're just not available. Those were my old links, so I'm going to remove those because you're going to vote on the order, right? So I don't know what lectures I'll be giving you yet because you will decide what order we do and the content, and also when you change the order I have to change some of the content to marry back to previous stuff. Okay, so people in the room, it looks like you might have to leave because someone else is probably going to be using the room at 5:10. So hopefully you've not been kicked out of your seats yet. Okay, do you have to show a reel or something that shows some of the things that we've made in the course? Yes, I'm expecting videos. There'll be videos to be done in assignment 1. There is videos to be done for the project. You'll be doing a showreel, a gameplay showreel, and also in your reflections, I like to see you discuss your code and discuss how that code works. We're also trying to work out the best way of doing either in-person or marking to make that as efficient as possible so we can get feedback to you quickly. So, yep. Are there show reels from previous years? Yes, I can get Tui to show you from show reels from games from previous years, which were and I've got a bunch of those, and we have some students who have given permission to have those shared with other students. So we can share previous years. I'll ask Tui, and he'll probably be able to share that. He'll be sharing it with the designers, so he can share those with all of us over the next few weeks. Okay. Are there any unread questions? Okay. Nope, that sounds great. It's now 5:10. So I'll probably actually take this, I'll halve it and just give the slides that I covered, because I have 1, 2, 3. So I have a bunch of slides that I could have gone over if we'd had lots of time. Don't worry about all of those. We'll get to those. I'll make a slide of that. That was kind of just my second half, just in case. But I felt we should cover the structure of this course and how we're going to try and do it, so that you can kind of start thinking about those things, as in what lectures you want, how you want to do things, and get underway with assignment 1. Cool. Yes, we need class reps. Thank you. Sorry if you're all having to leave. We do need class reps. At least 1, possibly 2 or 3 would be great. The class reps will we'll have Discord class reps in there as well. And with the class reps, we'll if we are able to do things in person, my preference is to have the ethics lecture in the Hunter Lounge, so that you guys can buy pizza and drinks while we talk ethics around games, and I will buy the class reps pizza for when we have that session. So there's at least a free meal in being a class rep for people who want to be a class rep and represent the class. Also, it's great to have people that can provide anonymous feedback to me, and that we can talk about if we need to do any changes to the course. But yeah. And yes, email me if you want to be a class rep. I'll send out an email regarding class reps as well, looking for people to sign up. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. You can also message it on Discord, and message me about the class reps on Discord. Okay, I'll start recording, and I'll see you online on Monday.